Welcome back. We've got video number 2. Our goal for today, given a relation, you will be able to describe the domain, describe the range, determine if it is a function, and write its inverse. So as you can see, today is going to be a very big day for vocabulary. So we're going to start by taking a look at these key words: relation, domain, range, function, and inverse. Okay, so here we go. Here are our notes. So day 2, relations. So let's talk about, well, what is a relation? Well, a relation is anything that has a relationship. So in order, for instance, a set of ordered pairs. So this is an example of a relation. So if we see, these are all your ordered pairs. Remember, these are coordinates, so they are x comma y values all the way across. Okay, our next word for today is a domain. A domain is the set of the first terms of an ordered pair. It is the x values of a function. So it is going to be the x values in the relation. So if I take a look up here, if I want to write down my domain is a set of numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick all of the x values. Remember, the x values always come first. So my domain is 2, -1, 7, and 4. It's a set of numbers, so they don't have to be in any order. Okay, our next vocabulary term is the range. Now the range is the second term of the ordered pairs, which means it is going to be the y values in your relation. So let's take a look at this relation. The range is going to be the set of numbers. So we put our little brackets there, and it's going to be the y values. So my range is 4, 5, -9, and 6. Okay, our next vocabulary word is called the inverse. Now, the inverse is when we're going to switch the x and y values in the function. So if this is my original relation, the inverse, I'm going to switch the coordinates. So instead of going 2, 4, it's going to be 4, 2. Instead of -1, 5, we're going to go 5, -1. And then the next point, I switch the 7 and the -9. And also for the last one. And we have our inverse. Okay, next, and this is a really big one. This is going to be a word that we are going to use until the end of the school year. A function. Okay, a function is a relation that has no x values that repeat. So let's take a look. We want no repeating x values. So for every x value, there is one and only one y value. So here we go. Here's our relation: 2, 4, -1, 5, 7, -9, and 4, 6. So let's take a look. Look at just your x values. Do any of them repeat? 2, -1, 7. So no. So is this a function? Yes, because no x values repeat. Okay, now let's take a look at the next relation. We have an x value of 3, 6, 3, and 1. So if I take a look here, I have 3 and 3. So my x values repeat. Is this a function? No, because x value of 3 repeats. So it is not a function. Now, another way to tell if you have a function is by looking at its graph, okay? And this is called the vertical line test of functions. Okay, so, and this is what the test is. If you can draw a vertical line anywhere on a graph so that it hits the graph in more than one spot, then the graph is not a function. It would fail the vertical line test. So let's take a look at our first example. So here we have this nice curve. So if I draw a vertical line here, it touches only once. If I draw it here, it touches once, touches once, touches once, touches once. So no matter where I draw my vertical line, it's only going to touch the graph at one point. So that means this is, yes, a function, because it passes the vertical line test. So yes, a function because it passes the vertical line test. Now let's take a look at our next example. Here we have a sideways parabola. Now if I were to draw a vertical line, so I'm going to draw my vertical line here, I see it touches once, it touches twice. So that means this has failed the vertical line test. Instead of touching once, it touches twice. All right, so this is not a function because it fails the vertical line test. It touches twice instead of once. Okay, these are all of our vocabulary words for today. So now that we have them, let's practice using them in some problems. So let's go ahead and flip over. Okay, so we're going to take a look at our first relation and we're going to answer some follow-up questions. So given the table of values, state each. So this is a table of values of the cost of car repairs. So we have time in hours. Okay, so if you have 0, 1, 2, or 3 hours that your car is getting repaired, and then the cost would be $25, $50, $75, and $100. So let's go ahead and state all the ordered pairs. So your independent variable would be the time, and your dependent variable would be the cost, which would be your y. So if we wanted to state the ordered pairs, it would be 0, 25. Our next group would be 1, 50. Our third group would be if you had 2 hours, it would cost you $75. And if you had your car worked on for 3 hours, it will cost $100 to get it repaired. Okay, now we want to state the domain. I like to put my D in front so that way I remember that it's my domain. So your domain is a set of numbers. And remember, the domain is going to be your x values. Okay, so let's go ahead and find all of our x values. So that's going to be 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, next up, we want to state the range. I'm going to put an R in the front here. So our range. So your range is going to be your y values. Okay, so my y values here are the set of points, or the set of numbers 25, 50, 75, and 100. Okay, now it asks, is this a function? Explain. So everybody look to see, well, there's no picture here. We're given points, so that means we're going to use this one. So remember, a relation that has no x values that repeat. So let's take a look. Your x values, 0, 1, 2, 3. Do any of them repeat? Nope. So yes, this is a function. Yes, function. Because no x values repeat. Okay, part E, write the inverse. So let's go back. So the inverse, oh, there it is. We're going to switch the x and the y values. So let's take a look here. We're going to switch the x and the y. So instead of 0, 25, we're going to write 25, 0. And then 50, 1. Instead of 275, it's going to be 75, 2. And the last one, switch the 3 and the 100, and we've got it. All right, so now we practiced using a table of values. So let's try something a little bit different. Let's take a look now at question 2. Now this time, instead of giving a table of values, they're giving us a set of points. So part A, state all the ordered pairs. So let's take a look for each point. So I'm going to look at this point first. And this is the point, remember, it's x comma y. So I'm going to go over 1 to -3 and up 1, 2, 3. So the first point is -3 comma 3. All right, my second point, so I'll do that for 1. Let's come down and do this one here. So this one, my x value, I'm going left and right 0. So that would be 0. And then I'm going down 1, 2, 3, -3. My third point, I'm going to do this one up here at top. So I have to go over positive 1, 2, 3. So my x value is 3. My y value, we go up 1, 2, 3. And then my final point, I'll put a 4 there. We're going to go to the right 1, 2, 3. So that's positive 3. And then we go down 1. Since you go down, it's negative. So 3 comma -1. Okay, next up, state the domain. So remember, your domain is your D. And if we flip back to the front, domain is your x values. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to write all of our x values. So your x values, -3, 0, 3, and 3. Okay, next up, we're going to state the range. So if the domain is the x's, the range is the y value. So let's write down all of our y's. So we have 3, -3, 3, -1. Now, is this a function? Explain. Okay, so there's 2 ways that we can look at this. We can either look at the points, at their coordinates, or we can look at the graph, but let's take a look. So let's try the first function test. So it's a relation that has no x values that repeat. So let's take a look. Your x values, -3, 0, 3, 3. So do you have x values that repeat? Yes, we do. The 3's are repeating. So is this a function? No, because x value of 3 repeats. Now the other way that we could test this is by looking at the graph. So remember, the other way that you can test it is doing the vertical line test of functions. So if you were to draw a vertical line, it should only touch once. If it touches twice, then it's not a function. So let's go take a look. If I draw a line here, it touches once. If I draw a line here, it touches once. If I draw a line here, it touches once, twice. So we could also write no because it fails the vertical line test. So that would be another way that you could test it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and cross off E. All right, let's take a look then at the next page. So now, instead of given a set of coordinates or a graph, we have a bubble graph. So the first thing I want you to do is go ahead and write out all of your ordered pairs. And why don't we go ahead, I'm going to have you answer all of these questions, okay, on your own. So go ahead and pause the video and try this on your own. All right, so before you try this on your own then, let's just review. This would be your x and this would be your y. So here we go, x is going to 5, so your first point is going to be 2, 5. All right, go ahead now, try them on your own. All right, let's go ahead and take a look here. So we have our 5 points, the domain, your range, and is it a function? Not a function because the x value of 11 repeats. Okay, what I'd like you to do right now is go ahead and try questions 1 and 2 on your own, and then I'd like you to check your work. Number 3 we will do in class together. All right, let's see. Were you able to get choice 4 and then choice 3. All right, nice job, everybody. We will see you in class tomorrow.